Hello, hello, hello. I am Apostle Jennifer here to give y'all a word today. Today we are in 1 Samuel chapter 10 verses 13. And in this, we see how much of the Lord is involved in Saul's situation. Although Saul was chosen by God, and we talked about this, it wasn't an idea of Saul's, it wasn't a prayer of Saul's, it was the desire of God for God to be able to anoint Saul as king. In fact, when it's time for Saul to get anointed as king in front of the people, he's hiding. His uncle had asked him what Samuel had said to him. When Samuel told him, "You're going to be king," he didn't say anything. So he didn't readily step into this situation because it wasn't his will. It was the will of God. Although it was the will of God to put him in position, Saul was not alone. He was not left to himself, his own devices, his own strength, his own wisdom, his own understanding to carry him through in this new position. He had the backing of God because it was God's will. God anointed him and put him in position, and God gave him everything he needed to be able to fulfill that position. It says a little later throughout chapters 10 through 13 that God gave Saul another heart. Lord, please give me another heart, just one that's full of love and beauty and joy and peace. One that's indicative of your character, one that's indicative of who you are. But God gave Saul another heart. Not only that, but God's spirit came upon Saul. So he was able to do things he wasn't able to do before. He was able to prophesy. When it came time for the Ammonites to come against the people of Israel, they were concerned. But not Saul, because the Spirit of the Lord again came upon Saul, and he got this righteous anger and stood up against the Ammonites, and the Lord gave him victory. When the Lord calls you to do something, he's going to enable you to be able to do it. If God is calling you to a position, if God is calling you to an action, if God is calling you to do anything, he will give you what it is that you need to be able to complete that assignment. You're not alone because it's his will. And he knows that not only can you, but it was never meant for you to do it in your own power and your own might. You may think that you don't have what it takes to be able to do what God has called you to do, but God is not asking you to use what it is that you have. He's asking you to trust him that he will give you what you need in order to fulfill any task, any assignment that he's given you. Yet and still, Samuel had anointed him as king. When he defeats the Ammonites, after he prophesies the whole nine, the people are like, this is the king. The people make him king. The people acknowledge it. God will put you in such a position to establish you that people will know that you are of him, and they will receive you as a man or a woman of God. You don't have to worry about what people are going to think of you. You see, there are people that's eyes are closed and ears are closed spiritually. They'll never, ever, ever see you or hear you. Their hearts are hardened. They'll never feel you. And it's not meant for them to in that season, in that time. But there are people that will see the call on your life because God will make it so. And they will receive you, the ones that you're called to. God did it with Moses, didn't he? God established it with Moses. People knew God was with Moses. Moses' face shined so radiantly, they knew they were in the presence of something they ain't never seen before. They knew he was God's man. God established Samuel because he said, here's this prophecy, and made the prophecy come true. People knew he was a prophet because God established him in that moment. There are many times in the Bible where God will establish a man or a woman so that people know that this is me. You see, people looked at Joseph and they understood that Joseph was favored by God. Even the sorcerers and the magicians knew that Moses was working by the hand of God. You don't have to worry about what other people think or how other people are going to receive you. For the ones that God has called you to, God will put you in such a position and establish you there. So don't worry about the people on the other side of that. The last thing to go with this lesson today is that even though Saul is anointed as king by Samuel, by the will of God, the people put him in position as king. It then says Saul served or lived for a year and then he became king. What was happening within that year was the prerogative of God. You could be anointed, you could be appointed to do something, but there may be a time in which you must wait to fully step into that position. When there is a time period that you must wait because there's an appointed time, there is an appointed time for you to step into that position. There's an appointed time for that vision to be revealed. You have to know that there's nothing that you can do to speed it up and there's nothing you can do to slow it down. That it's by the hand of God. If you want to know what God is doing within that time, it's time to get before the Lord and ask him. But just because you are appointed, just because you are anointed, it doesn't mean that you are going to get in position right away. But it doesn't mean that the position is not available for you and that it will never happen. Look at the time lag that happened between Joseph having the dream and Joseph getting in the palace. Look at the time lag that happened between David being anointed and him stepping into position as king. Look at the time that happened that Abraham was told that he was going to be the father of many descendants for him to just have one child. One of the main things that God is doing is he's perfecting your faith because he is the perfecter of faith. That's what he does. He makes sure our faith is complete. He's building patience in us, endurance, perseverance, hope. In that we experience some suffering, but that's what it produces. God is purifying our intentions in that time. There are many things that God is doing that you may not be aware of, but God doesn't waste a moment of time and he's preparing you for what is to come. Don't take any lag in time, any apparent delay, any time that's passed, because I know it can be difficult in this waiting season. As rejection, as you're doing something wrong, as you're not doing enough, as you need to be doing something different, as in you displease God. Because then we can get into a works mindset. God is working on your faith. God is doing something bigger than you. Just trust him. Trust what he's deposited in you. Trust what he's given to you. And in time, you will step into the position that God has always had for you, that God formed you to. He's just aligning your identity with that. And once when his work is done, God don't waste a moment. He'll put you in the position. And once when he does, he'll give you everything that you need to be able to fulfill his will in that position. I love y'all. So like, comment, subscribe if you would like to donate. My information's on the front page. I love y'all. Talk soon.